Hi, Arrow.
Hey, how are you two doing today?
Excellent.
Doing great. How about you?
Doing fantastic, even though it is raining here in the South, but we need this rain. I live in a forest, and this forest can't survive unless we're frugal, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's gloomy here too. We're in St. Pete.
One of the things that you bring up is your friendship in this, and I love the fact that you hit off from each other. You talk about your marriages. You talk about how you with the people that you invite on the show, how you can really kind of activate it in your own personal life. And as a listener on this side, I'm going, well, they make it sound like I can do it too.
You can.
That's what we're hoping to make it sound like.
And find more friends.
And to make it that simple, though, I mean, that's the thing about it. I mean, what is your background where you know that you are speaking with us? You're not talking at us. You're speaking with us.
Yeah. It is not complex. It's quite simple to spend less, right? But it's all those deeper emotional reasons that we will rationalize spending more and over consuming. Those are the complex things, but the actual action is quite simple. And so we're just trying to get to those deeper, crevices, the deeper things that not a lot of people talk about because it's not very sexy, and trying to relate on those and, get everybody together and be like, yeah, we're all struggling with the same things. How can we meet the needs that we have and the desires we have, but do it in a way that's better for our wallets, better for the environment, and better for our communities?
It helps that Jen and I are actual friends. I think that comes through in the recording, so it doesn't feel fake. And most of us really enjoy authenticity, and wherever we can find that. And for Jen and I, we both met during our own debt payoff journeys. And that was one of the things that really connected us. And having gone through that ourselves, we're now able to share some of the things that worked for us, but also learn from our community and the things that maybe we never tried or didn't even know to try, and be able to turn around and give that back to the community. So that, I think, has a lot to do with the expansion. It's just authentic community. We have fun. If it's not fun, it's not Frugal Friends.
Debt control is like a learning tool. And the reason why I bring that up is because I remember back in the early part of the 1990s, of course, you go in there and you get another loan on your house and to pay off your bills. And what do? You make more bills. And so I had to have that wake up call so I could be, I don't call it frugal. I say, so I can be cheap today. And I'm not afraid to tell people I'm a cheap guy. Okay. Don't expect anything brilliant because I'm just a cheap guy.
Yeah. Well, we don't love the word cheap. We want to say that we're frugal, not cheap, because frugal doesn't come at the expense of other people. Where some people might think, frugal people are cheap because we go out, we don't tip well, or 5 people are splitting the bill and we got the steak and everybody else got the salad. That's the normal connotation for frugal, and we want to turn that upside down. Cheap it's saving money or saving time or saving something at the expense of somebody else. So you're not footing the bill theoretically, but somebody else is. Whereas frugal it doesn't affect anybody else but you. It has a positive impact on you and potentially even has a positive impact on the people around you. So it's maybe buying something that's a little more expensive up front, but's more durable, will last longer, will actually save you money in the long run, and just has the positive byproduct of being made sustainably.
I think some of what you're talking about too, Arrow, is lifestyle inflation, which does happen to all of us. It creeps in. We make a little bit more money. We get a small bonus, you name it. And our expenses rise to meet whatever it is that our income is. And we can kind of find ourselves in this rat race where it's not really getting better. Maybe it's even getting worse. And so some of that has to do with that frugality that Jen's talking about, where we are really embracing being good stewards of our resources so that we're not finding ourselves mindlessly spending and our expenses just becoming like the rising tide with our income.
How many families are like my family in the way that my wife believes that when it comes to paying off our debt, get rid of the house? And I'm going, that's our only source of real hardcore credit, plus it's a tax write-off. Is she right? Get rid of the house?
I think that owning a home is a personal decision.
Right.
It's going to be right for some people and it's not going to be right for other people. And so if a house feels like it's weighing you down, then maybe homeownership isn't right for you. But personal finance is personal first. So not every money decision you make is going to be the best math. What we do has to be reflective of who we are with money. And so sometimes it's right to own, sometimes it's not. I think, and especially as a couple, you might have differing opinions, but you have to find somewhere to meet in the middle on what you feel is right to do with home ownership.
What you guys do is you put focus even on traveling expenses. The way that I got that under control was I got an RV. There's no $400 different places I'm going to be staying at per night. We're going in the RV and we're going camping. How have you guys had to readjust your life with traveling expenses?
Well, I lived in an RV, so I can understand what you're talking about there. And I will say that there's an expensive way of doing it and there's an inexpensive way of doing it. But I think that if you're focused on travel for how can I get the most bang for my buck? How can I travel where I want to go, but not spend a ton of money? Yeah, RVing is great. We also love travel hacking, finding credit cards that are going to give us rewards points. But also, if I can back up before that, making sure that travel is actually something that is valuable to me, is something that's really important, something I want to do. I think there can be a lot of voices saying, this is what you have to do to live a fulfilling life. And I've now met plenty of people who are like, I enjoy being home. I don't need to go out and be traveling here and there. And actually, there's a lot of headache that comes with it. So I think staycations can be a really cost-effective way to explore the community that you're in. I think finding ways to get inexpensive hotels and flights, if that's what you want to do, it is available to people. Again, we love the credit card points, but I think we have to really do a heart check on, is this actually something I enjoy? Is it going to bring fulfillment to me?
Online spending has got to be an addiction because, I mean, it's too easy to go to Amazon and purchase something and 2 days later it arrives. And not only does it hurt your local economy, but man, it can hurt that bank account real fast. How do we break that habit?
Yeah, marketers, software developers, all of these people get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to make it easier for you to shop. So we beat ourselves up about having impulsive shopping habits, but we also have to recognize that everything around you is set up to put you in a position to be thinking about shopping, to be thinking about buying. So first, taking a little bit of the stress and the shame off of your own shoulders, but then also creating barriers. So if you have a problem with overspending at night, you get on your phone, scrolling in bed, getting on Amazon and just buying things, and then they show up in 2 days and you don't even remember you had bought them because you were so tired when you were shopping. So if that sounds like you, which has definitely been me, then putting barriers. So like moving your phone across the room. And these are like they're silly, simple things, but they do make a difference for a short amount of time just to interrupt the habit that you've built. Yeah. So either reading a book at night or doing something else mindless. So just putting a barrier between you and whatever device you're finding that you have a problem online shopping on. So that's the first. And then building these ulterior habits and these internal motivators that make you want to not shop, that you get your dopamine and your adrenaline rush from other things other than shopping. And that comes with time. But first, if we can put these like silly physical barriers into place, that can disrupt the habit and get us started on the right path.
I chuckled a little bit when you guys put focus on rich friend secrets because we all have richer friends, and the way they spend, there are many times I just want to step in going, you don't need this. Please don't do this. I realize you can afford it, but please don't do this.
Yeah, I think what we realize in talking with some people who have been really mindful about the way that they build wealth and what they do with it is that there is a lot of frugality woven in, that it isn't frivolous spending that's happening, but really identifying how do I want my dollars to be working for me? and how can I be spending intentionally and mindfully and be a good steward of my resources. And a lot of times that does include investing, which isn't just for the super wealthy. It is something that we all can be doing, probably to various degrees. There's a spectrum of it, but being more intentional about the way that we're purchasing for longevity with our money, not just the flashy thing that's going to impress our neighbors.
One of the things that back in the 1980s that I struggled with was, well, why do I need to get a financial advisor? Why do I need to invest in the stock market? The stock market is nothing but it's Las Vegas up in New York. And so it took a lot. So I had to get a financial advisor. That was the best decision of my life. And I just wish everybody had one.
Yeah. Technology has made investing so much easier. It was a lot more like gambling back in the 80s, even the early 90s, and technology has just made it so much more accessible. But not a ton of people know that because historically it has been something that's been stock picking, overcomplicated. And now you can buy one index fund and get every single stock in the stock market in just one. You can even get one that reallocates, so you can definitely do it on your own. And then there's this beautiful thing called a robo-advisor, which is just a computer algorithm that can reallocate and kind of play like a financial advisor. And they're so affordable. So there are so many advances in technology making investing accessible to everyone that really nobody anymore has any excuse for why they shouldn't be investing. You can even invest with $10, and it really is that difference between somebody who just saves for the sake of saving money and somebody who is building wealth.
Yeah, because I'll never forget when I was I asked the guy that was leading me. I would say, well, what about this stock? What about this stock? What about this? And he would say, dude, you need to calm down and let me do my job. I'll see you in 20 years. But here's the thing. You need to. It's that inner discipline. Just because it's building doesn't mean you have to spend it. Leave it alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. Time in the market beats timing the market every time. We invest for long-term. We invest for retirement, long-term wealth. And a lot of people have heard of Warren Buffett. He's one of the greatest investors of our time. He has made most of his wealth and most of his celebrity in his later years. And it's not because he is the greatest investor percentage-wise of the returns he gets. It's because he started investing so many decades ago and time has just been on his side. He has stayed committed. And that's really why he's one of the greatest investors of our time, is his time in the stock market.
There's a huge marketing campaign that's, you can read it at grocery stores, gas stations, scamming. And they're trying to get this inside our minds that it's real, it's happening. But as a consumer, why aren't we picking up on this, that this scamming is going to destroy us?
There are tons of scams happening, and I think they're becoming a lot more educated on how to get into our wallets, get into even our personal lives. And we're seeing this be a problem even with the younger generation. There seems to be a little bit more trust in technology. Maybe Gen Z is a little bit more likely to just click the yes, okay, fine buttons just to move on with what they're doing. But there's becoming a lot more complicated and complex scams trying to get money from us, essentially, and get our personal information. So it is happening. We do have to be informed buyers, informed spenders, informed consumers of what are the scams, but also recognize that they are shifting and changing, not to live life in fear, but to have that pause before we buy or before we say yes to something, which is going to benefit us anyhow, whether or not we're afraid of scammers, to ask ourselves, do I really need this? Or if you're concerned about a scam, what is their intention with this? Am I sure that I'm talking to the person that I think that I'm talking to? Can be really helpful questions to be asking. Just those few seconds of pause before making a money decision can really save us big in the short term and long term.
Are we still living the Great Resignation, or did people decide, I got to go back to work?
I think that entrepreneurship has been, again, thanks to technology, entrepreneurship has been made accessible to more people. And so I think that, along with people just being more conscious about saving and reducing their expenses. I think maybe we're at the end of the quote unquote great resignation, but I do think people are more conscious about their work environments and won't settle for maybe what we did 5 years ago.
Yep.
If there's going to be an employer that doesn't respect boundaries, that doesn't respect time and energy and mental health, then definitely Gen Z and millennials are going to go elsewhere.
Yeah. One of the toughest things about during the Great Resignation is you go out there and you get set in your new ways, go back and try to get back into the job market, and they're going, no, you had too much freedom. You're not going to understand what structure is anymore. And that's a mental battle.
Yeah, I think that as we get more startups from younger people, I think we are getting more bosses and CEOs and entrepreneurs that are more understanding of flexibility, that know how, when I take care of my employees and I pay them well, then they're more invested in the company. They want to see the company succeed because this is a place they like working, and they want to see it grow. And so I think when you're thinking about your employees as even part owners, and maybe even having them invest in the company and get options, like they are part owners, I think we start to see, as long as there are boundaries in place, a workforce that's more invested in the companies that they're working for.
These disruptors happen in the workforce, in the economy, decade over decade. And I think it can be uncomfortable at first. It can feel extreme at first, but the disruptors are important for setting a new trajectory and being workable for the current society. So I think that it will shake out.
You got to come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you.
Thank you, Arrow.
Thank you so much.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
Likewise.
Thanks.